So as we closed out the news purge by mentioning West Virginia IT workers fighting outsourcing, that makes the perfect segue over to one of my sister sites. It's called cyberspacewar.com. Just a couple quick things we're going to hit there. First, from techdirt.com, corporate news sacrifices WikiLeaks to get SHIELD law. A few weeks ago, TechDirt noted with some disappointment that the politicians who had been pushing for a much-needed federal SHIELD law for journalism, Senators Chuck Schumer and Dianne Feinstein, were taking the political expedient route of adding specific amendment designed to keep WikiLeaks out of the bill's protection. Apparently, a bunch of newspaper folks stepped forward to support that move. Douglas Lee at the First Amendment Center has an opinion piece calling out those people for sacrificing their overall principles just to get the SHIELD law approved. I don't know if that's really necessarily true. You know, when they call people sellouts, it kind of implies that you would have had integrity in the first place. It is the nature of politics today to compromise principles to get things through, but this move seems certainly unfortunate, and one that we imagine many news organizations will regret down the road. Corporate media colluding with corporate Democrats to silence any kind of grassroots outlet. Now, of course, in the recent weeks, we've aired some questions. We've had some thoughts. We've wondered about what's going on with WikiLeaks, and especially the Afghan War Diaries, again connected to the New York Times, the folks who brought us Judith Miller and weapons of mass destruction and the drumbeat for a illegal war on Iraq. But that's over now, right? The latest WikiLeaks release, of course, seems to aid the global war of terror. But let's continue to our other post on cyberspacewar.com. Cyborg, Spy School, Asteroids. And we're first going to move to technocult.net. Intel developing improved mind-reading computers. The current crop of thought-control devices relies on users' imaging movements, or rather imagining movements, I should say. But according to The Telegraph, Intel is working on technology that will read what words users are thinking. So more on that from The Telegraph. Computers that read minds are being developed by Intel. And of course, they'll test it out with video games, and it'll be really neat. So one minute you're Sonic the Hedgehog, and then the next minute you're killing brown people with drones in Pakistan. What's the difference? Raw Story reporting Pentagon may apply preemptive warfare policy to the internet. If you've ever listened to this show, you know that they are applying. There's no may about it. They've written about it. They're going to fight the net as if it were an enemy weapons system. Google those phrases. But this is a follow-up to something that we hit last week. Defense official discloses cyber attack. And this would be the article from basically the second-in-command, Deputy Defense Secretary William J. Lynn III, writing an article for the Council on Foreign Relations, saying how at risk we are from hack attacks. Another follow-up, and none of these are very good. Judge says Pennsylvania district must pay $260,000 in the spying case. That's from the Associated Press. In most cases, we would like those guilty to pay the price. But to make the Pennsylvania school district pay for these teachers who were spying on kids through the webcams in their laptops, that we've been tracking this story on cyberspacewar.com since February. But as we reported for you, I believe just last week, no charges in the Pennsylvania schools webcam spygate. So there aren't going to be any formal charges against the people who took tens of thousands of photos of underage kids at various stages of undress and claimed they were taking drugs when they were eating Mike and Ike's. Again, all this is all publicly available. There will be lawsuits. But this is just saying the judge may make them, pay for court costs, the incidentals. Nothing to see. Move along here. Our last note here on cyberspacewar.com goes to the Daily Mail. Our terrifyingly crowded solar system, how the asteroids are closing in. There is an interesting video, but there's nothing for me to play it audio-wise for you. It basically time-lapse through hundreds of years of history to track asteroids, and the first thing you would say is, holy shit, there's a bunch more asteroids. No, we're just tracking them better now and being able to discover where they are. That's why we call it cyberspace war, covering the attacks from outer space and inner space as we await the punch in the Facebook. Again, that catalyzing catastrophic event that will let them shove an I Patriot Act down our face holes. But as long as we're covering my sister sites, let's get the other one, foodworldorder.com, going for well over a year and a half now. And again, covering all of the things going on, where, as we always say, don't hate the media, become the media. As we start to realize we can make our own media, we can make our own entertainment, we can also make our own food. Food scandals prompt organic growth in China. This interesting story from foodsafetynews.com. Scandals have helped propel rapid growth in the organic food sector of China's economy, sourced back to Telegraph. Interest has been promoted by a series of scares including toxic beans, contaminated milk and pork, pesticide-laced dumplings, chemically tainted chicken, and the growing presence of something known as sewage oil. China now consumes more than twice as much organic food as the health-conscious Japan. The market is worth annual 10 billion yuan, or about 1.5 bill in the U.S. The U.S. organic market is worth about 25 bill annually. Telegraph profiled Shi Lili, 25, who runs an organic store on the internet. Lili said she had seen a huge increase in demand for organic salts, oils, and spices in the wake of all the local food safety scares, especially the most recent revelation that up to 10% of oil used in restaurants is recycled from sewer drains. And I unfortunately have the link for you for that disgusting story from foodsafetynews.com. Food scandals prompt organic growth in China. Our other post on foodworldorder.com is another ugly list of headlines that we call a binge and purge. Control the food, control the people. And we're going to start from Poor Richard's blog, as well as farmwars.info. And these, again, things are all connected. Farmwars.info notes that if you control the food, you control the people, and that's why you must investigate and do research on Codex Alimentarius. But, again, the aforementioned Poor Richards gets into something we've discussed, and that would be the deceptively titled Food Safety and Modernization Act, Senate Bill 510, of course written by and for Monsanto lobbyists that, of course, now have been brought in by the Obama-Messiah, like Michael Taylor from Monsanto, and all the others covered on foodworldorder.com. Essentially, among the numerous things buried in this poison pill of a bill, 510, Food Safety Modernization Act, essentially control of food supply to be handed over to, of course, Homeland Security. As we note from the recent stories coming out of California, California being ground zero in a lot of ways for any of our sort of culture wars, police, of course, have been doing guns-drawn raids on organic food stores in California.
Basically has been written to prohibit the sale of all kinds of things. You know, you can't sell fresh juices any longer. I mean, they've gotten so involved in this ridiculous stuff that now the real question should be posed. And I was on KFI radio the other day, and basically the question to be posed is, who is behind it ultimately, and what is the purpose? And these are the kind of questions that need to be posed, because it's not what one club is being rated compared to another one. We have what's called a digital laser-guided temperature gun here that actually looks like somewhat like a gun. My question, which I have not posed to anybody, is let's just say somebody walked out one of our small walk-ins with that, faced at one of these guys with a gun drawn. Maybe, just maybe, the other person would have pulled the trigger. These foods that have now been made illegal, raw goat milk, raw anything, especially raw products. You can't go to the Whole Foods and the farmer's market anymore because they're controlled by the health department, and those places can't sell unpasteurized juices, unrefrigerated eggs, they can't sell the rumps of E-shape, they can't sell, the list is so ridiculous at this point that we had to form our own private membership club with the membership agreement that basically says once you pass the table just inside this small little lot that we have, you have to become a private member, taking your health into your own hands. And so, we've protected ourselves on that level, but, there are probably 20 attorneys attached, and mothers and children and professionals and doctors and dentists and, nurses and real estate people, actors, actresses that are all members of Rossum. So the outrage just on the attack of Rossum has been unbelievable. Everybody has stood up and said, no way. Since that point, they've backed off. They've backed off, I think, because they see how much exposure they have created. We only consider this, my friend George, an opportunity to take this information to the masses at this point. So they've actually given us the opportunity to take this to the masses.
Now, that clip's kind of rough, and I apologize for that, but that is a representative of Rawsome Foods, of course, the most recent and notorious raw food raid in California. But as we go down the rest of the Binge and Purge headlines on foodworldorder.com, control the food, control the people, we do, of course, have something to note from naturalnews.com, and those would be the natural health movement's key victories over things like high fructose corn syrup, monosodium glutamate, genetically modified organisms, and more. That, again, as I think I've said on this show, the model, I think, of 9/11 truth has spread to all the other areas of now vaccine truth and money truth and health truth and all of those things. And again, that's what we try and do with alternative, independent, open source media here for you. There's a great clip of the true story of a mom investigating the dangers of U.S. food supply. We grabbed this from Cryptagon.com, but it sources back even to Amazon, and again, all these things are there for you. Infant formulas contaminated with aluminum, that's from PreventDisease.com. Coal waste contaminates water in 21 states. Almost half of bottled water now comes from tap. Surprise, surprise, studies show organic produce superior to conventional on every level. And our last foodworldorder.com note will be the second. You may recall a couple weeks ago we played the first satirical public service announcement from Barbara Peterson and FarmWars.info. Here is the latest PSA from FarmWars. Got milk?
This is a FarmWars public service announcement. Got milk? On June 30th, 2010, federal, state, and local authorities raided Rawsome Foods in Venice, California with guns drawn. The target? Unmarked jugs of raw milk. Yes, raw milk. I am sorry to say that some of you out there are still concerned with your health and have decided to take the matter into your own hands by eating locally harvested raw food. When will you learn that natural foods such as raw milk are illegal because they contain nutrients not artificially inserted by scientific methods? Be safe, and don't buy into the natural and organic is good for me scam. Only government-approved, artificially created, and genetically modified food is healthy and should be the only food on your table, courtesy of the FDA, USDA, and Monsanto.